Hi, welcome to Let's Talk About Tobacco. I'm Lee Keller and I'm here with Janiece Davis, Dr. Hummel, and Dr. Feinstein. Got it right, I'm good, okay.
Thank you.
And we're talking about the risks of using different forms of tobacco. And when we left our last segment, we were talking about secondhand smoke a lot. What's being done about that?
I think one of the biggest things that we're doing to prevent secondhand smoke exposure is passing different policies throughout the state. And one of the biggest policies that we're working on are tobacco-free school policies. And both Dr. Mike and Dr. Hummel have been instrumental in getting those policies in place in their respective counties. And it's been a long journey across the state. I know here in Palm Beach it took us 3.5 years to even get it to the board, but last year, back in 2010, the Attorney General felt that it might be a violation of preemption, which means that your local law can't be stronger than what the current state law is. And there unfortunately was no state law in place that said a school board can have a completely tobacco-free school policy, which meant all hours, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on field, at field trips, athletic events, and vehicles, properties owned, rented, leased, operated by the school district. So
Basically everything.
Anything that has a school district affiliation in any way, shape, or form. So what was done locally in grassroots efforts was that there are many staff members across the state who got together and was able to get bills through the Florida legislature that were passed that stated that a school board does have the authority to implement a tobacco-free school policy. And we've had several counties across Florida, recently Orange County, who have comprehensive tobacco-free school policies in place. There have been some that unfortunately did not pass. And here locally in Palm Beach County, ours will be going to the school board soon, but having smoke-free environments are very key for several reasons. One, you don't have the secondhand smoke exposure. Two, children aren't seeing faculty members and staff and teachers using tobacco, so it's a modeling behavior right there, and they're not associating with, well, I'm always seeing tobacco at my school, so therefore it must be all the adults are doing it. And you don't have the tobacco litter. You don't have, for a district standpoint, hours lost from time for staff, because you think about how much the average smoker takes a smoke break throughout the day. It's about an hour or so each day, so an hour per smoker times however many smokers are in your district times how the average hourly salary for that district, it adds up pretty quickly. So if not for the health effects, look at it from that standpoint in terms of revenue loss and productivity from the district employees. But we are really pushing for tobacco-free schools. It's a positive thing. It's a no-brainer to us, and I can't think of any reason why a school board member would oppose it, but I mean, maybe you could.
Well, I think it's a little bit of a complex issue. Florida has a very good Clean Indoor Air Act, and it's been in place, well, the original one since 1985, but the more robust one since 2003. But in that law, there is a clause that says the regulation of smoking is going to be handled by the state and not by the local communities. So what most of us who've been working with secondhand smoke issues confront is, how do I keep that one smoker from exposing those other 3 kids in an environment? We can only do that by cleaning up the outdoor environments, because that's where this exposure is now going on. If it's happening in a home, we can't do anything about that. That's an internal thing. But where we can make a difference is when my children are at a park and somebody's smoking there, then my children are actually involved in it, aren't they? Well, that law has been very tough to deal with in Florida, and a lot of communities have been afraid to move forward with smoke-free parks or beaches or schools. So last year, the legislature started to tackle this. They were going to take that clause out, free all the local communities up to make their own decisions, give the local control back. One of the things that really prompted that was that the Attorney General, as Janiece just referenced, said, you can't make a clean air policy for a school because that's a public entity, like a municipality.
Okay.
So last year, they added an exception to that clause. It says, yes, you can do smoke-free policies in local schools that are more robust, that take the adults into account in addition to the children. So that's started to happen throughout the state. Palm Beach County's just about to do it. Martin County's just about to do it. We've moved forward in our communities with that. But remember, that didn't change parks and beaches. And so there's another whole area out there that we need to try to work on in order to limit this kind of exposure. So this year we're trying to get the legislature to take a look at the whole clause. Why do we have it at all? It's not to say that every community is going to make a smoke-free beach. It's just to let the local communities make a decision in what's in their best interest. But because 80%, 83% of the population in Florida doesn't smoke, we know where people will migrate. You know, you can use the example of planes. People love smoke-free planes now, but when they went with that first move back in the 80s, nobody wanted it. What do you mean? And it was only 2-hour flights, right? We'll take the cigarettes out of 2-hour flights. What happened was the non-smokers got in there and said, well, yeah, this is better. Why wasn't I for this before? And then it was all domestic flights. This will happen with parks and beaches. People will realize it's clearly better, it's necessary, there's health consequences to the smoke, and we just need to move forward.
And I think the good thing about the parks and beaches is that there were communities who took the initiative back as far as at least 2008 when Sarasota County had all their beaches go smoke-free. And that's an ordinance. It's not a resolution. It's not a policy. It's a complete ordinance that the Sarasota County beaches are smoke-free. And there was no really public outcry about that. And we have Broward County parks are all completely smoke-free. We've got some parks here in Palm Beach County. The city of Wellington just went smoke-free recently in October of 2011. We've got the city of Lake Worth working on tobacco-free beach ordinance. Their parks are getting ready to be smoke-free. So I think there are a lot of communities who realize that, well, let's just do it because it's the right thing to do. And that's what the city of Lake Worth told us when their tobacco-free parks policy passed, was that, well, it's just the right thing to do. What's the need for discussion about this issue? So I think that seeing more local governments take ownership and control and say, well, we're going to go ahead and do this anyways, that it sends a message that, well, they want this, so why not make it completely legal for them to do this?
Yeah, an important thing here too is it's not smoke-free, it's tobacco-free.
Correct.
So spit tobacco and things like that, they're not permitted there either.
Correct, and we worked with our Communities Put in Prevention to Work program to provide signage throughout the counties. I know Martin County has the signage there, and they're a nice message, healthy lungs at play. This is a tobacco-free zone, which when I tested it in Wellington, the adults and the parents and the kids, well, we like that much better and we'll be more likely to listen to it as opposed to no smoking or do not smoke here, whereas healthy lungs at play, you get the emphasis that it's children, it's health, and it should be about the health of the kids. So let's just make this a tobacco-free environment for the health of our kids in our community. And look at the litter. When we do our beach cleanups every year, the #1 thing that we're picking up is cigarette butts, tobacco product packaging, lighters. So if not for the health of our kids, look at it from the beauty standpoint, especially for our beaches. It's one of our main attractions here in Florida. Let's keep our beaches clean by having tobacco-free policies from that standpoint as well.
There are 50 municipalities or more that have passed laws despite the preemption clause, that have taken a stand on this. And many communities are starting to pass resolutions asking the legislature, please remove this clause so we can move forward with this. It's a really important subject.
Good. And as an educator, I like the idea of teaching by example. I mean, that's where kids really learn from what they see adults do. And if they're doing something that's inappropriate, there's going to be a problem there. Yep. So I'll tell you what, we're going to be back in a minute with even more on the risks of using tobacco, so we'll see you in a moment.